Happy Friday, everyone. We have a fun AMRAP for you guys to take down and move into the weekend with today. Oh, it's going to be a blast. Can't wait. There's a little bit of thinking involved, mind you, but it's going to be a good time, and I don't want you to worry about a ton of rounds because it's a pretty long round. All right, so before we get to that, let's talk about the warm-up. We're going to take down a wide stance good morning for 5 to 10 reps. Side lunge hold for 5 to 10 seconds per side. Sumo Deadlift for 3 to 5 a side. Suitcase Calf Raise for 20 seconds a side. And then we're going to move into a narrow stance squat for 5. 2 to 3 rounds, we're going to take that down into our dumbbell front squat for 3. Dumbbell pause dip for 2 at 3-second hold. Dumbbell push press for 1. Then you're going to finish off with a 10 to 20-second hold in that overhead position. And repeat on the opposite side. So you have a nice little complex that's going to take you through most of the skills in the workout today. After that, you're going to skip or work on your ankle pop for 10 to 20 seconds just to get those ankles ready, get some hopping going on, get your body ready to do that lovely jump and coordination set, and you can hit that for 3 to 5 rounds. Now, the workout. 15 minutes. What you have for me, you have dumbbell snatch for 7 reps on one side, or clean and press, right, on one side for 7. Then you'll move into a front squat for 7 on the same side. Then once you're done your 7 front squats, you're going to switch hands and you'll do 7 snatches on that side. Then you'll do 7 front squats on that same side, and then you'll move into 14 V-ups. When you are done the 14 V-ups, you're going to grab that first side of that dumbbell. You're going to work on your suitcase lunge for 7 total count reps. And then you're going to take down 7 push press. So you'll clean it up, push press, and then flip sides, 7 lunges, clean it, and 7 push press. And then once you're done that, you'll finish off with 21 double unders. That is 1 round. All right, so you're going to work on basically 2 workouts in one for the most part. What we have is, again, dumbbell snatch front squat on one side, dumbbell snatch front squat on the other side, little V-up kind of combo or intermission for 14, dumbbell suitcase lunge for 7 on one side, into your push press front 7 for one side, and then flip to the other side to do that, and then again, double under for 21 or double under equivalent for 21 reps. So a ton of work here. The rounds are not going to be very large in terms of how many rounds you get in 15 minutes, but the rounds themselves are quite large. So let's get you warmed up, let's get you ready to go and have some fun easing you into the weekend. All right, let's get those feet under those hips. Let's take the arms big and tall. Let's get a little shrug going on overhead. We're gonna bring both arms down behind the neck. Ribs are in. We'll reach with the elbow and down. Reach with the elbow and down. Elbow and down. Elbow down. 2 more. Elbow down and elbow and down. Big stretch. Big reach. And a reach. We'll come back down. Forward fold. Touching those toes. We're going to walk ourselves up the shins. We're going to come down, frame of foot, step it back into our lizard. We're just going to take that inside hand all the way up, and we're going to rotate forearm to the floor, come back up, and rotate forearm to the floor, back up, and rotate forearm to the floor, and back up, planting the hand. Outside hand is going to reach way up to the sky. Plant that hand down. We're going to step back into our down dog, reaching those hips. Come back into our plank, step the other foot up. Inside hand is going to reach way up to the sky. We're going to rotate that forearm down, come back up, and then rotate, and back up, and rotate, and back up, and plant that hand. Outside hand is going to reach way up. Plant that hand down, step back. This time in that down dog, set the shoulders. We're going to walk our heels out, nice and slow, nice and steady. Working through those heels, those ankles. Just get things nice and set, nice and strong. And then let's into our plank, pulling those ribs and hips in, pressing those shoulders up. We'll tiptoe all the way up and roll ourselves up. Big tall stretch. Big reach overhead. We'll stretch it to one side. Take it to the other side. Oh, take it all the way down with the hands. Let's get you fired up and ready to go. So what we got going on for you guys today, if you'd like to pause the video and take down a little bit more gentle warm up, maybe the wrist, rotation, whatever you happen to need for yourself today, please do so. Come back and join me for our first phase of warm up. Our first phase of warm up is going to kickstart off with a lot of lower body work. So we're going to start off with that wide stance. In that wide stance, we're going to have our toes slightly turned out and our glutes set so our hips are nice and open. From here, my body, chest and core, nice and tall. I'm going to pull my hips back, softening my knees. And then I'm going to stand up with a good glute squeeze, opening up the hips. I'm going to pull back. And then I'm going to stand tall, opening up those hips. And then one more time, going back. And then opening up those hips. So just a nice smooth flow through that hip coming back with a little pause at the top. So from profile, knees are soft. I pull the hips back, and I want you guys to make sure that our center mass stays through the midfoot. So in this position, my big toes are down, my body's nice and straight and flat, my knees are soft, I can feel my hamstrings saying hello, and I'm really working on keeping my weight through the middle of my feet, but keeping my whole foot flat. So it can be very challenging sometimes, but we want to make sure that that's what we're focusing on in terms of our weight placement on the foot. After that, we're going to move right back into that wide stance into our side lunge hold. If you'd like to do a couple dynamic reps first, you can. There's nothing wrong with that. But the side lunge hold, again, I want you to think about a squat. I'm going to take my hip to my heel, keeping my chest up, my knee tracking that toe. And I'm trying to hold that tension and engagement the entire time for 5 to 10 seconds. And then I'm going to push with that leg nice and strong. I take the hip to the heel, keeping the chest up nice and tall. I'm focusing on that nice squat mechanics, so my knee is tracking the toe, and my weight is midfoot again with that big toe down. We always want to make sure we're keeping that big toe down because it's going to help engage the back portion of our body and our glutes a little bit more. From our side lunge hold, we're going to move into some dynamic sumo deadlifts. And I want you guys to use these deadlifts more so simulating a snatch with the dumbbell. So I want you to really focus on a slightly higher chest and a little lower hip. So a traditional deadlift, we're going to keep our hips up a little higher, all right? But with these, with the dumbbell especially, because we're going to a deeper position, we need to drop the hips a little bit more and keep the chest up high. So what it's going to look like a little bit more so is a little bit more like a squat, okay? So my chest is up high, my hips are a little lower, and from here I'm going to push through my legs, maintaining that angle, and then stand tall. And this is just going to give us a chance to see where my floor position is going to be. So if I can't quite get the dumbbell all the way to the ground while maintaining position, this is going to give us some insight into how deep I can go in the workout in a controlled manner. So we just want to make sure that we're really focusing in on where my end range happens to be today, because that's where we're going to take that dumbbell when we're doing our snatches. After that, we're going to take the dumbbell in our right hand or left hand. Our feet are going to come underneath of our hips, toes pointing straight ahead. We're going to work on 20 seconds worth of calf raises. So we're going to work 10 seconds per side. I know in the beginning I mentioned 20 seconds per side. That was my bad mistake on that one. But 10 seconds per side. So I'm going to push through those feet, coming up onto the toes, balance between the pinky and the big toe, and then controlling the down a bit. So I push, coming up onto the toes, and then lower. Good push, staying square between the big toe and pinky toe, and lower. Then once at 10 seconds, I'll just transition hands, and then I'll just keep the calf raises going. You notice I'm not going super fast. I'm not going super slow either, but we're not trying to go back and forth. Good control, good at the top, a little bit of pause, good control on the way down. And we're just firing up our calves, getting our ankles and our feet ready for skipping later on. We're also trying to stabilize through the upper body, so we're trying to keep this position balanced and and still. So we're not losing position through the upper or the lower as we are moving those ankles up and down. After the calf raises, we're gonna stretch out those calves and shins a little bit with a narrow squat. So our feet are gonna be together or somewhere inside our regular squat stance. And we're gonna do these relatively dynamic. So we're gonna take the hip to the heel, chest staying upright, and again, our weight staying mid-foot, keeping those toes down, feet flat, but the weight being right above the laces. So we're nice and centered, and we're fighting for that good position in our squat. We may not be able to get as deep in our narrow stance as we can our sumo or our regular squat, and that's okay. Listen to your body, listen to those ankles, and it'll guide you into a good position. As a quick little recap, we have a wide stance, good morning, for 5 to 10 reps. Side lunge hold, 5 to 10 seconds per side. If you want to do a couple dynamic reps beforehand, nothing wrong with that. Sumo deadlift for 3 to 5 a side. Suitcase calf raise, 20 seconds, 10 seconds per hand. And then we're going to move into a narrow squat for 5 reps. I like a tempo with those, but I'm just putting 5 reps up. You guys can do what you need to. We just want to make sure we're not bouncing out of those reps. 2 to 3 rounds of that, you guys. It's going to get your lower body good to go, ready for action. Pause the video, take it down, and then come join me. We're going to work on some dumbbell skill work. So the dumbbell skill work is kind of a nice little complex, and I'm going to take it down like a complex so you guys can kind of see the flow of the work set. So first things first, we need to clean this dumbbell up. So I'm going to get into that good position like I did for my snatch. I come down, take hold of the dumbbell. I'm just going to clean it up to the shoulder and get it set up in my rack position. So the dumbbell is resting on the shoulder. Elbow is up a little bit, pressing through that lat. My feet are in my squat stance, and I'm nice and ready for my front squat. With these front squats, we're just going to take 3 good squats down, keeping those hips going towards the heels, the knees are out, and the body's nice and upright. Nice and smooth, and moving through that nice 3-rep squat. From there, I'm going to keep the dumbbell on my shoulder. I'm going to bring my feet in a little bit, and I'm going to work on my pause dip. So I'm going to keep my hips stacked underneath of my shoulders. I'm going to dip straight down. So my feet are flat, my knees go out, but my hips stay under my shoulders. So I need to squeeze my glutes, pull my ribs in, and stay nice and vertical, and stand. So I'm going to do this for 2 reps, holding in the bottom for 3 seconds to feel that position. And then on the 3rd rep, I'm going to push press. So I'm going to do my dip again, no pause, pressing it overhead. I'm going to press into that dumbbell, keeping my armpit forward, my ribs, my glutes tight, keeping that dumbbell over in that good overhead position for a nice, solid 10 to 20 seconds. Then I'll bring it back down and start again on the other side. So it's going to give us a nice flow of each movement for the most part in our work set. We're going to definitely tackle all the different planes of movement that we need to work on. Below parallel, that nice pull, that press overhead. So all of that is going to get touched on in that sequence. From there, after we've done both sides, you're going to grab your skipping rope if you can skip at home, or we're going to work on some ankle pops. And the ankle pop, if you're like, I don't really jump, and jumping just kind of bugs my feet because they're not really prone for that, what you can work on again too is 10 to 20 seconds of calf raises again if you like, loaded or unloaded, working on that nice lift. You can work on that nice easy up and down. So I'm not actually jumping, I'm just kind of pushing up and down on my feet. All right? Or I can work on that actual hop where I'm working on absorbing that impact through my ankles and my knees, and I'm keeping my core tight and my glutes tight. The ankle pop is a great exercise to work on posture and the shape that I need to maintain when I skip, doing singles or double unders. So we're just looking at practicing and warming up that position for what's to come with the skipping. If you're not going to skip, this is a nice option that we can use in the workout, especially with the power jump, or it'll work really well with that dumbbell lateral jump over, which will be another option in place of the double under. So we're just using that to warm things up. I love that drill. It's a great way to just get things fired up and just wake up those ankles a bit to some gentle impact without having to worry about a rope. All right? Pause the video, take that down. We got a quick little recap coming your way though for that piece. dumbbell front squat for 3, into a pause dip for 2 at 3-second hold in the bottom. We have a 1 push press into an overhead hold of 10 to 20 seconds. You'll repeat that on the opposite side, and then you're gonna work on a little bit of light skipping, ankle popping, or the equivalent exercise that's gonna get you ready for that cardio piece in the work set for 10 to 20 seconds. 3 to 5 rounds, take that down, and then we're gonna move in to this next phase, which is gonna kind of touch on any movements that you haven't done that you may need to practice, like the dumbbell snatch, the V-up, or the lunge. So pause the video, take down that little complex, come join me for the workout movements, and we're gonna talk about a few key ones and some options. So the first exercise in our list we have is our dumbbell snatch. And a dumbbell snatch is something we do quite often. But there's 2 options we can play with for this, depending on your comfort with that dumbbell going overhead. So the first one is the dumbbell snatch. And it's all gonna be on one side today. So you're gonna do one side and then one side. So we're not alternating, so we don't have to worry about transitioning today. So I'm gonna get set up on the floor, feet just on either side of the dumbbell, so the dumbbell's cutting my feet in half. I take the hips back and down, so I'm in that good position. I'm gonna push through those legs as I open up through the deadlift, and then drive and pull myself as I punch that dumbbell overhead. Coming back down, same arm, I'm gonna take it to my floor position, whatever that happens to be, and then I'm again gonna use those legs, pushing, opening up those hips and knees, letting that dumbbell fly up overhead, using that high pull to guide the dumbbell to where we need it to be. So we want to make sure we're using this drive through the legs to get that dumbbell moving, and then that high pull motion that we practice keeps the dumbbell close as we pull under into that power position. All right? So we got 7 reps on one side. If you're not comfortable with the snatch in a dynamic fashion as you're fatigued, you can use the clean and press. And it's the same hip extension and knee extension. We're just doing that overhead piece in 2 pieces. So it gives you a chance to put that dumbbell exactly where you want it with a little bit more control. And that looks like so. I get set up with my dumbbell, I clean it to the shoulder, and push it overhead with that little push press. And I come back down, take it to the floor position, all looks very familiar to the snatch, clean, push. All right, so that allows us to direct that dumbbell right overhead in the cleanest line possible, where sometimes the snatch can get away from us a little bit if we're not super comfortable overhead. So either one of those I'm good with. All we have to remember is it's 7 on one side. Then we're gonna move into the front squat, which we covered earlier on. So if you need some coaching cues and some points of performance, just scroll back, check that out in the warm-up, and then you're gonna repeat on the opposite side with 7 snatches or clean and presses on that side, followed up with 7 front squats. Once we've done that little couplet on both sides, we get to lay down, and we're gonna work on some V-ups. So, with the V-up, we have a couple options here. We can rock those V-ups, nice and tall with the straight arms and the legs, 2 hands, 2 feet, come up, and work that double leg. If the double's just a little bit too much, we can do a single leg, trying to meet the leg in the middle, so that we're joining our chest and our thigh together as we come up in the middle portion. Or we can work on a tuck up. So we can come up, same idea, bringing my chest and legs to meet in the middle. Or I can do a single leg, tuck up, still meeting in the middle portion in that nice little V position. And if you're looking at that going, well, the hinging is a little bit too much for me. I'm not quite comfortable with that. I can't quite control my position of my back as I'm coming up into that hinge position. What we can work on is that nice aggressive hollow up, which is going to get that same kind of engagement through the midsection. So we get set, we pull the ribs and hips together, lifting my shoulders and feet just a little bit. So it's a nice tight little compression through the midsection, which lifts my shoulders and feet. I can also do a single leg, which will allow a little extra help in terms of keeping that low back in contact with the floor. Now we have 2 other options. If the upper body portion of the V-up is the challenging piece, We have two options that really take care of that for you guys. We have the pike setup, where we take our arms above our head, we sit up, and then we reach as far forward as we can down the thighs. Wherever we can get to is wherever we get, and then we roll back down, touching overhead, and then sitting up, exploring that range, trying to keep the legs as straight as we can. You get a nice little hamstring stretch in this one as well, so it's always a nice little combo. It is a dynamic sit-up though, so we are allowed to use a little bit of momentum as we swing those arms from overhead. The other option is a little slower, it's a little stricter. We bring our legs up into our L position. I'm going to keep my arms towards my shoelaces. I'm going to pull my ribs and hips together as I come up, and then rolling my shoulders back down. Roll up, and then come back down. We're not pulling the hands back and shooting the arms up. Our arms stay straight the entire time, and we're just compressing through that midsection to get that upper body focus in our work set. So challenging, yes, very, very tough on the core, all right? Very, very high bang for your buck. They are a little slower, and that's okay. If that's what you want to focus on in that piece of the work set, there's plenty of dynamic pieces in this work set that you can do those laying toe touches and get really good bang for your buck mid-workout. Plus you get to lay down. After that set of V-ups or V-up options, we're going to come into some suitcase lunges. We have 7 on one side and 7 on the other. The lunge itself is alternating, but the dumbbell will be held on one side for 7 reps. So you'll hold the dumbbell to the side, you're going to step it forward and down, nice and steady, alternating feet, and if you like, you can also do back lunges. That's totally fine as well. But our goal again is to try and keep this arm from swinging as we step back and forth. We want to try and keep it nice and solid, close to the body as we do that step so that we have control of the load at all times. Once you've done 7, you're going to clean it up and you're going to work on 7 push press. So we get to go right overhead for 7 push presses, working on that nice vertical dip and that good overhead position. Then you'll bring it back to the other side and you'll work on that nice smooth lunge for 7 reps again. Clean it up, push press again, and then move into our last little piece, which is the skip. So coming back to the lunge though, if you're not comfortable with the weighted lunge, that's fine. You can work on a nice unloaded lunge and just work on getting that body into those positions and working on your range of motion and control. So if you don't want to load the lunge, that's okay. I will have some other options for you in place of the lunge, but if you are rocking the lunge or a loaded step up per se, we are going to hold the dumbbell on the one side for all 7 reps while we alternate the feet. All right, so we'll just keep that true into that regardless of the option that we have set aside for your lunges. Now, with this work set, there's a lot of one side then the other side, lots of thinking. So my suggestion would be definitely write it out, maybe even in its fullest. So on the web page, I'm just going to have 7, 7, repeat on opposite side. If it makes it easier for you, write out dumbbell snatch, right. Dumbbell front squat, right. Dumbbell snatch, left. Dumbbell front squat, left. V-up, and write it out in this big full list, because sometimes that's easier for our brain to kind of compute as we start getting fatigued and tired midway through that 15 minutes. So whatever works for you guys, that's what I want you guys to keep in mind. But have fun with this one, you guys. This is a tough little work set. It's a long set of rounds, okay? So keep that in mind. Our score for this workout in terms of total rounds is not going to be super high because those rounds are pretty long. So we have 15 minutes of work to kickstart our weekend. I hope you enjoy. Work for quality, have fun, and we'll see you tomorrow for one last workout of the week. It's going to be a good time. Bye, you guys.